So this is the time of year when I sit down with any agent who wants to, whether I'm coaching them with the consulting business or one of the firms I work with closely with. We do October, November because I want an agent to have their plan in place by December, because December is when most people are starting to think about whether they're buying or selling, right? Because they know they're going to get through the holidays and things change, so having things in place. But I really keep it real simple with them. I start with a number. I say, how much money would you like to make next year? Okay. And they look at me and they're like, well, I want to do this many units, or I want to do this much. I'm saying, no, start with how much money you would like to make, before Uncle Sam, but because that's between you and Uncle Sam, how much money you would like to make. And then we backwards plan. Now that's my military comes into me, but how we backwards plan from your number all the way down to how many leads you've got to generate to do that. Okay. And I like to do it annually, but then we review it quarterly.
Sure. But but starting with that end question is a perfect segue for agents who want to focus on the upper tier, because if you're focusing on selling more expensive properties, then the proposition that it takes to get to that end number is very different than if you're looking at it only from a front end of units and transactions and that sort of thing. So I'd love to keep that kind of idea in mind as we're talking about how to leverage the resources, particularly those in our audience who are members of the Institute, have an incredible toolbox, but it still requires a plan, right? It still requires thought about how you're going to use those things. And so tell me what kinds of things you would suggest to be even bigger picture goals like designations and continuing education, that sort of thing. What would you advise?
Well, adding to the number, I also ask every person that I work with in planning to come up with 5 personal goals and 5 professional goals. Okay. And those goals, we write them down. Okay. Now, I do teach them they need to be smart, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. And then taking those goals, but included in those goals, personal and professional, because in real estate, they're intertwined, because of the type of business we're in and how we work as independent contractors, they're intertwined, making them smart. But that's where you should have your education. That's where you should have, hey, I would like to break into this market, and having those goals set and then being smart with them, it drives their marketing plan. It drives their focus. Like you said, it's like, hey, if my number is X, I want to put that much in my pocket. If I want to increase my average sale price, and I get that question all the time in business planning, I say, okay, that's great. That's a goal. You want to increase it to what? Okay. Now let's talk about what submarkets you can work in. Let's talk about what areas. Let's talk what types of networks you want to work in. And let's build out your marketing plan based on the number and based on your personal and professional goals, because then I'll give you my advice, my thoughts on how we do that. And we write it all down. And then they share it with somebody, which is a key to setting goals.
Accountability.
Accountability, right? And then be ready to review it. And be ready to adjust to things that happen in the marketplace. But you're right. The average sale price, if your average sale price right now is 250 and you want to take it to 750, no problem. We can show you how that's going to look like. But then we're going to have to make that investment into those networks and markets to help you do that. So everything backward plans, and then we start writing down those specific action plans, things like a marketing plan, things like a social media plan, things like that. And how can you educate yourself to get smarter about doing it? Who do you want to surround yourself with, and share your goals with so that they can help you with that? Whether it's a coach, whether it's some training, and the Institute's a great example of, going through the different levels of the Institute. That's a great goal to put down as one of those professional goals, because that's going to make you expand your thought, expand your training, your opportunities, and things like that to go in and meet those benchmarks.